have the ability to do once they access the body computer system. They can't get to our consciousness. It's much too far out vibrationally for them. So they need to get to us on a body computer level, which is operating within the vibrational field that they operate in. And that's what they're doing. And without the fantastic work of people who've been doing so much to get this information out through the internet, through things like YouTube and through websites and through radio shows like this, they, in terms of this network of control freaks and conspirators and very, very sick people, are not going to have the breeze that they would have had 5 years ago. And we need to stick with it and not start, stepping back from the stand we've taken, no matter what intimidation, because if you have the vaccine, well, you're in real trouble.
Yeah, and then on top of that, of course, we have the whole monetary scheme as well going hand in hand with this agenda, because pharmaceutical companies are going to make on this, and you even have over in the UK Professor Sir Roy Anderson, who is 160, and he's a government virus expert in this, but he's getting paid about 160,000 by swine flu vaccine manufacturers. It doesn't get more obvious than that,
No, what you've got, Henrik, of course, is this spinning revolving door. You find it all over the system. The revolving door whereby people who work for government then go through the revolving door and they work for organizations like drug companies and Monsanto, etc., and vaccine manufacturers, that the government's departments that they worked in are supposed to police and are supposed to protect the people from. And then the revolving door keeps going, and these people then come back in a government. And it's the corporations through this system that run governments on behalf of the corporations. I'm just writing a new book at the moment, and I've done a section on Goldman Sachs, who were fundamentally involved right at the heart of the economic collapse and banking crash in September last year. And when you see, Henrik, the revolving door personnel numbers between Goldman Sachs and government and not just Goldman Sachs and government, by the way, Goldman Sachs and the Treasury part of government, and from the Treasury part of government back to Goldman Sachs, it is staggering. Goldman Sachs run the Treasury Department of the United States. And of course, the Goldman Sachs is a Rothschild front. So the Rothschilds run the financial institutions of the United States. And this is what's happening right across the system. And so when we bring it round to this so-called swine flu pandemic, you have the situation where the drug companies, the Novartis, the Baxter International, etc., that have produced the vaccine are owned and controlled by the same families. In the end, it goes back to the Rothschilds at the center of the spider's web on a human level anyway. And the same people that control and own them actually created from the start the World Health Organization, which is an organization that was set up to centralize power in one building and around one table over world health policy. And they did this by enacting legislation that says when the World Health Organization itself declares a pandemic of a certain level, then the legislation kicks in and the World Health Organization can start dictating health policy and vaccination policy to governments. It's got nearly 200 governments that are part of its cabal. And so there you've got the World Health Organization and the drug companies controlled by the same people, indeed, created by them. And then you look at the Centers for Disease Control in America, the Food and Drug Administration, and their equivalent all over the world, in Sweden. And again, they're supposed to be policing and protecting the public from the outrages of the corporations. But hey, hold on. They're all controlled by the same force. And if you want to control a game and you want to know the outcome before the game starts, then you have to control all sides. And that's what they've done. And this whole situation that we're now facing has been put together in fine detail over a long, long period while the vast majority of people were watching the game show or the game or whatever and getting on with their lives in various ways. These pieces have been moved into place. So they use the American military laboratories to create the virus, their drug companies to create the vaccine, their World Health Organization to say everyone must be vaccinated with the vaccine, the so-called public protection agencies like the Food and Drug Administration say, yeah, we agree with the World Health Organization, this is what has to happen. And at the same time, on another level, they've been moving changes in the military, involvement in domestic law enforcement to start moving the military into being on the streets and policing domestically in countries like the United States. So as a result of 9/11, of course, an engineered problem reaction solution, create the problem, get the reaction off of the solution, they created something called Northern Command or Northcom, which is the domestic military organization that is there, it says here, to protect the American mainland from, or homeland as they call it, just like the Nazis did, from terrorism, etc., and also to be there in terms of times of an emergency or some kind of catastrophe. So all that's been moved into place. They're now talking about getting permission to have virtually 400,000 troops on the streets of America. Of course, if you look around the internet in the last few days, you'll see footage of troops on the streets in America already. Yep. And at the G20 summit in Pittsburgh, they're using this latest sound technology that they fire at crowds to disperse them. All this stuff is going on in what was once called the land of the free. And what is happening in America is designed to happen everywhere. So you see how all these different pieces in the puzzle come together, and they're coming together, Henrik, at this time, which is why, as I say, the phony war is over and we need to look it in the face.
Yeah. Do you think they strike, so to speak, at this time as well because they managed to manufacture so many different problem situations that are unfolding now, be it the swine flu or the economic situation, and it just seems to me that it's a heck of a pressure, right now as well, as we seen some of these pictures from people walking around on the streets in Pittsburgh, for instance. They're very, very clever as well in regards to how they deal with people, because you can have a crowd of peaceful protesters walking around, and for all we know, there could be people in there who are consciously stirring up the demonstrators, or police come in there and take one guy or whatever who's in on it actually.
Exactly.
Drag him away or whatever, and this get people aroused and actually turn violent, and of course you will manage to take a lot of those people away. One guy we saw today on YouTube was taken away in an unmarked car by 5 military people, for instance, and this is the way they do it. They could amass the people who at least have the voice and the courage to go out there and say, no, we don't go along with this. We refuse to go along with your plan. But they just have to show up, and they could haul them all away, so to speak. And that's a danger here as well. So the question obviously becomes, how do we show them, so to speak, that we are out there and we don't agree, but can we also avoid not being dragged into it? Or is that just simply a consequence of the time that we're in right now, that then it needs to be some kind of confrontation? What do you think about this, David?
No, I don't think it needs confrontation. It needs non-cooperation in many, many areas of our lives. I reckon in full knowledge of what they're doing, the number of people in that situation, absolute full knowledge of the game and supporting it, the agenda, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the global population. The vast, overwhelming majority are the targets of those few. Now, they because of the way that they've been working this over a long period of time, because this has been projected forward, people would not, who are hearing this for the first time, would say it is impossible to project forward what is happening now way